Welcome to the debate. Our focus today is on the pivotal moments in the creation of the modern internet. We really need to decide, when we look at this history, was it the underlying technological infrastructure, the foundation built from military and academic necessity, that was the most important turning point, or were the later user-facing applications like the World Wide Web the true revolutionary innovation? I'll be arguing that the initial engineering framework is, well, the core of the story.
And I'm coming at it from a slightly different angle. While that foundation was obviously vital, I believe the true revolution lies with the applications that drove global usability and adoption. Those are what fundamentally changed the whole function of the network.
Look, the creation of this system was rooted in necessity. During the Cold War, the U.S. government needed a communication network that could survive even if parts of it were destroyed. This requirement led to some essential engineering breakthroughs, specifically Paul Barron's idea of a non-centralized system and the development of packet switching, where data is broken into small chunks for reliable transmission. Most importantly, Bob Kahn and Vint Cerf created the essential rules, TCP/IP, which became this universal language allowing any two computers to communicate. Without that robust foundation, embodied by ARPANET in 1969, nothing that came later would have been possible.
That's a compelling argument for the foundation, sure. But for me, the infrastructure was just the road network. The real revolution happened when that network became truly useful for people outside of, specialized research. This shift was marked by applications. Think about the unplanned emergence of email on ARPANET, Ray Tomlinson giving us the @ symbol, which proved the network's value for simple communication. But the biggest leap, though, was Tim Berners-Lee's invention of the World Wide Web in 1989. The web, with its system of URLs and hyperlinks, it provided a practical way to access information. That application, especially when it was popularized by browsers like Mosaic, transformed the internet from a niche tool into a global medium.
I see why you emphasize the application side, I do. But let's not understate the technological leap here. The complexity of that non-centralized architecture and packet switching, it just cannot be understated. Without the initial requirement for a maximally robust system, the engineering resources needed to solve this very specific, very complex problem, how to build a network with no single point of failure, they just wouldn't have been prioritized. The military necessity was the singular driver of that foundational genius.
I'd still argue that the infrastructure, while ingenious, was incomplete for a global scale. ARPANET was eventually decommissioned in 1990. The system only achieved global importance because it evolved to solve civilian problems, primarily the ability for universities and research centers around the world to share information easily. The original military network was replaced by a system defined by its ability to adapt and connect people. Doesn't the fact that the original network was shut down sort of suggest that its utility, not just its architecture, was the essential key?
Okay, that's a fair point about ARPANET itself, but those utilities still required a common operating foundation. I still hold that TCP/IP is the most fundamental invention here. It is the core rule set, the language that manages connectivity and ensures data reliably moves across all these different networks. Without TCP/IP, you'd just have, islands of incompatible computers. Applications like the web are simply impossible if the underlying systems can't talk to each other first.
Right. And that highlights the distinction we have to make, doesn't it? The internet is the physical infrastructure, the wires, the routers, and TCP/IP. The World Wide Web is the system that Tim Berners-Lee created that sits on top of the internet, giving it content and a navigable structure through hyperlinks. People didn't adopt the internet because they understood packet switching. They adopted it because the web provided the defining user experience, making information retrieval simple and, intuitive. The web turned the infrastructure into a consumer product.
So ultimately, I maintain that the complex engineering and the non-centralized resilience developed back in the 1950s and 60s, driven by critical defense needs, provided the necessary, robust, and neutral foundation. That foundation defined the potential for everything that came after.
And I believe the internet's true revolutionary story is defined by its ability to adapt and grow. The truly transformative moments were those unplanned applications, email and especially the World Wide Web, that moved the technology far beyond its original function and made the system globally usable for, well, for everyone.
Well, it is clear that understanding the difference between the Internet, the physical infrastructure, and the World Wide Web, the system for accessing content, is absolutely vital to appreciating this history.
Exactly. And the material confirms that no single person created this. It's a story of many scientists, where each layer of invention, from packet switching all the way to hyperlinks, was critical in its own right.